Hello everybody, I'm Tilly Douglas and today I want to show you how I make these gorgeous beads out of paper, and I just think they are absolutely amazing. How they're really quite hard. You can give them a good squeeze and they don't move, and they're beautiful. Look how lovely they are, all these gorgeous colours and patterns. They just look stunning. And these ones are just made out of magazines. Just some regular old magazines cut up, pages torn out and cut into strips. So today I wanted to show you how to start with these beads, because there's loads of different types that you can make. Look how gorgeous that looks. Absolutely gorgeous. I love them, and you can put all sorts of things that you want on. This is some ladder yarn that I put around this one, and they just look absolutely amazing. This one's got some napkin around it, just some plain tube bead made of paper and with a layer of napkin decoupaged over the top. Absolutely beautiful. This one's also got, this is not a tube, it is a tube bead, but it's not made quite the same way as that. It's made the same way as these, with the rolled paper that comes to the point, and all I've put on the end is some gold paint to make it look like these end caps. So there's so many different things that you can do with these, and this one is just because I used some cream paper and then just put some dabs of gold paint on it to make it look a bit fancier, and I think they look gorgeous. Dip the ends in gold paint and they just look so lovely. And here's some cute little ones, all sorts. You can make them out of any sort of paper that you want, and aren't they just gorgeous? I think they're absolutely beautiful. Look at all those. I haven't put any ends on these at the moment because I don't know what I want to do. I don't know whether I want ends on them or what, but they're all finished. You can hear by, I love the sound they make. You can hear by the sound that they make how solid they are, and they are really quite solid. You can give them a good squeeze and they're not moving anyway. So here's some of the ones I've made. I just wanted to show you a few that I've made and to give you some ideas. Aren't they gorgeous? I just love them. And these ones I wrapped with, so made them with paper and then wrapped some fabric round, so you can put any sort of paper or fabric or ribbon, anything that you want around them to pretty them up. And I wanted to show you how I cut the paper. I wish you could see that all my space around me, or lack of space, because I've got bead making stuff everywhere. So I'm in a right old state around here at the moment. So anyway, this is the paper that I've been using, and what I do is I go through my magazine. So when you start making these, you won't throw any of your magazines away if you're anything like me, because you'll become quite obsessed with it. So I tear all the pages out that's got all the nice colours on it, and then what I should do is go through these and put them in like colour order, so that all the purples are together, all the blues are together, and do it like that. So they're all the ones that's got the nice full pages that I can use, and then the rest of the magazine I don't throw it away. I still use the rest of the magazine, but see, these are the ones that I would put underneath the top layer, so you won't see it quite as much. So this one, for instance, because you use them, you cut strips like this, and then you start rolling from this end at the top here, and then you, let me just zoom out so you can see all that a bit better. So you start rolling from this end, and then this is the part that you will see the most. So here you'll just see the edges. So when you're cutting your magazine, if you're cutting it from this end, you're going to have just white along the bottom. So you may or may not want that look. So you cut it from, one goes this way and then one goes that way. So you're cutting it so it goes like that, and then your next one will be like that. So you can see that you're either going to have a pink end or a white end, depending on your magazines, which is why I like to use the pages that I've got colour both ends, full colour. So that's just how I do it. So these ones I shall cut up and use underneath when I just want to use it to bulk up the bead a bit more. So the way, and this one I like using these because this is a thicker paper. This is 120 GSM, and these make the slightly thicker bead. What did I do in my pot of beads? I've made all these sort have been made with this cream coloured paper, and it's made them quite nice and thick, which I really rather like. And this one is also with this paper, and that's the one I put just the napkin round. So when you make it with like a plain paper like this, you can colour them up and do whatever you want to them. You can also use just ordinary copy paper, printer paper, any paper that you want, and you can put your own designs on them, do it however you want. So that's for you to decide. You can chuck, you won't want to chuck any of your papers away. So these ones here are not the cream ones, obviously, that's just in the bundle. These are some papers that was in a craft magazine, and so I've cut all those up ready to make, and they're different on the other side, ready to make some lovely beads with. Now you don't always know what side you're going to use, because this side does look very pretty, but this side looks fantastic and made into a bead, because I made some beads with these and they actually look better with this side. So it doesn't matter what you have on your papers, because it's not going to look anything like this pattern or anything like this pattern. You're only going to see what's on the very outside edges. So there's some that I've already cut up, and I want to show you how I cut up my papers. Now you can use anything you want. You can use scissors or a cutting roller, or what I've been using is this cutter, which I just love this cutter. It's a Fiskars Shortcut, and I like this one because it's got a very fine wire running all the way down here, which is exactly where your blade cuts, which I find really handy. And it's got the extending ruler that pulls out, and see, this locks in place to hold your paper down, but you can unlock it, oops, there at the top there, just slide that across and then you can open it up, which I love. And your blade here, and your blade actually does just pop out of there, and you can see that tiny little blade, and it cuts brilliantly. Now when you get these cutters, they come with just standard blades in them. Well, you get one cutter and it's a standard blade, and if you're anything like me and you get absolutely addicted to making beads, your cutter's not going to last very long at all. So I would strongly suggest you get these titanium blades. They're not very expensive and they last much longer than the blade that actually comes with your cutter. So well worth paying a little bit extra to get the titanium blades, top tip. And then some people don't like the fact that this just comes out of here, but there is just a little slotted bit there that it just slides into. It doesn't come out all the way across. You see, it holds nicely all the way, and it's just got that little bit there where you can pull the blade out. But some people say they don't like it because it drops out, but it's never dropped out with me. You just don't leave it in this little slot here. So I don't know whether you'll be able to see that really fine wire that runs all the way across. I think you can just about see it there, can't you? But I love that part about it, because you really know exactly where your blade is cutting. So I have been using this a heck of a lot lately. It's had some a good old workout. So the way I make these, I wanted to show you first of all how I cut my paper. I'm just going to zoom out a wee bit there. So the way I cut it is, first of all I lift this up, and you need to be cutting at an angle because you want this triangular shape. So if you put that on there like that, you can see it needs to run down this edge. You don't want this flat edge here. You want it to be a triangular shape. So you're doing a long triangle. So what I do here is I just cut off the first strip. And if I zoom in slightly for you, let's just get that in a little bit. There. So if you put this on the 3 centimetre, because I like to do mine 3 centimetres. Some of them I do smaller and others I do bigger, but I have that on the 3 centimetre mark, and then you go right down to where the blade's going to cut. So you can see it's going to cut right on this groove here, and you put that so it cuts down to nothing, from 3 centimetres to nothing. So you hold this down and you just push your blade across and take that one out. Now I don't waste this, so even though it's got that straight edge, I still make beads with these, but I just want this lot to be uniform. So the next one we're going to do, and we're going to take this side now over to 3 centimetres and this side down to nothing, and then slide that back across, and there's your first piece for the bead. Perfect strip. And then with this side now we're going to go back to 3 centimetres there and down to nothing. Put that down, hold it down and cut across. And you're just going to use the whole sheet. Well, I'm just going to use the whole sheet up that way. 3 centimetres down to nothing, slide it across. Really easy. And then same all the way across. And you don't have to be exact. I mean, these are handmade beads, and handmade stuff shouldn't be absolutely perfect. When they're absolutely perfect, they're made by machines, and we're not machines, we're crafters. So that's how I like to think of it. And when things aren't perfect, it just shows the love that's gone into making your crafted items. I just like I think I'm a little bit strange because I just like sitting here cutting paper. I get quite a lot of satisfaction out of doing this. Very therapeutic. And oh gosh, I've made some absolutely gorgeous beads. Lots of, I'm a fan of really vibrant colours. I love colour, and because you're using your style of paper or you're using a plain paper, you can put whatever colour you want on it. So you can put beads, little gems, ribbons, anything you want on them. So that's that one. I won't get another 3 centimetre one out of there. So that's that part of it, and then I just like to lock it in place because I stand that up behind me. So there's all our bits of paper, all nicely cut into our strips. So they're going to go in my paper cutting box, which I've got. As I say, I like cutting paper, so I've got quite a few there. Now, let me show you with these. You can make any size you want. I'm going to show you with one of these ones because that's what I've been using, some of those. And you can roll them around anything you want. Now, I have got some bead rolling tools which are really handy, and they do make the job a lot easier. But you can use knitting needles, you can wind them around knitting needles, or these skewers, or whatever you want, a little toothpick or cocktail stick, whatever you want. So but I'm going to show you around these. See, these are all different sizes, and they have, let me show you on the bigger one, it'll be easier to see. You have this little groove that you can put your paper in and then roll it around there. Just holds it a little bit easier. So I'm going to use this size today, and then all you do, I actually find that if you just give it a little roll like that, it helps to start off the rolling because it curls it a little bit. So you put your paper in the groove, into the groove, and you can either roll it this way towards you, which is what I tend to do, or you can roll it the other way, and I actually do use both ways, so it doesn't really matter. So whatever way is easiest for you. So you put your paper into that groove, push it right in, and then hold it in place, and then you just start turning and wrapping that around, and try and keep it as central as possible. So this comes straight down the center, and hold it tight, and if it starts to go off center, you can just push it back a little bit. You can adjust it as you go, and then just keep rolling and using your fingers and your thumb. So I push my finger to the back and then roll it like that with my thumb, keeping it tight all the time, and you can see it taking shape now. And if it starts to come out, you just push it back into place, and you soon get really quick at doing this. So it might take you a little while. If you've never made them before, it might just take you a little while to get started, but you soon get the knack of it, and they're really nice to make. There, you see that shape now? How fab does that look? And then you can use any sort of glue you want. You can use a glue stick, or this is Dovecraft, just a craft glue, and I only bought this one because I just like the little container that it's in. But you can use got some fast tack glue, any kids craft glue, anything will do, anything at all. But I've been using this one, and when this is empty, I shall just refill it with just some ordinary craft glue, just some cheapo glue. So put some glue on it. I put a bit too much on there because I get a bit carried away. And then just keep rolling it, and then all that glue that you've got on your fingers, and I've got way too much on my fingers there because it came out in a bit of a glob, but just roll it all around because it all helps to seal it. And then, oh my, what did I do with my cloth there? I just have this old cloth to wipe my fingers on because I get stuck up with glue all the time. And there's your bead. So you just wiggle it off, and if you need to make any adjustments, just make them now before it sets. So just pull it all into shape until you're happy with the shape. And doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous? I love them. So that's just a very simple bead to get you started. Now, to make some fatter ones, where's my tub of beads gone here? Some of these fatter ones, like these, are made in exactly the same way, but I've put more layers of paper. See, this is the one I've just made, and that is made, I think I used about 6 layers of paper there. So I'll just show you how I did those. Because what I do is I just get some papers that are a similar sort of colour. So these are like the magazines, and see this one here, just got a bit caught up in the cutter before I changed the blade. That's when I knew I needed a new blade. So I get some layers. See, that one will go as well because it's got the red in it, and I just like to keep similar sort of colours. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever colours and styles you want. So I'll just get those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and whatever colour you want the outside to be. See, this is just red all the way across because I use all those colours, but at the very end you've got colours that are very similar. So whatever colour you want your main colour to be, make sure you have that on the outside. So I'm going to put that one on the outside, so I'll turn it that way. That's the side I'll be using. And then what you want is to stack all these colours up nice and as neat as you possibly can, so to get the edges together. It's worth taking a little bit of time just to get them all. What I do actually is I just trim the ends off as well, just that very top end, just to make sure I've got them tight together. So ends as tight as possible, and then what I do is I just go along and just snip the very edge off, so I know I've got a neat finish. And then I put them back in my roller. So obviously you've got a groove in there, so you can easily get 6 in there, and I've done it with 8, and then it starts to get a bit tighter after that. So you do exactly the same way, exactly the same. You just keep rolling, holding them all tight together in your hand. Keep pulling it tight. Push it into place, into shape when it comes. When it starts to come out of shape, just push it back in and just keep rolling. Looking nice and chunky. And with this one, when I've got all these ends, what I just do is I just get my glue stick. Keep hold of this because it will all ping open if you let go of that at this stage. It's not all the way, just tighten up and redo it. So what I do is just put plenty of glue on. Just open those up a bit, get glue on as much as you can, as many of those ends as you can. Then tighten them all up again, and then just keep rolling, rolling, rolling. It doesn't have to be exact. Then those few ends, I just put a little drop of this. Try not to squirt too much out this time. And then just pull it all around. Brush all that glue into those edges. Make sure you get that last little flap, because obviously you've got 6 of those little tight little ends. And there's that one. Look how gorgeous that is. Absolutely stunning. I love them. Beautiful. And then what I do, because you then glaze them, so that's finished with, and that's finished with, so I put those lids on, wipe my hands again. So this is the tray that I use to put them all on when they're drying. You can put them in anything you want. I also have this ring that I put them in, and then just poke cocktail sticks in there, toothpicks, and just put them on there to dry. But what I do to start with is, just move those out of the way, I get my bead and then just put it on the end of a stick like that. Now if you just get starting out and you're just making odd beads, you can just make them and paint them with a, I'm just thinking I haven't got my paintbrush. Yes, I have, it's there. This is the one I use for gluing. You can just paint them, paint the glue on and put them on a rack to dry. If you're making lots and lots and lots of beads, which I do, then you can leave them all to do in one go. So what you do is you put them on some fishing wire, and then you dip them into your glaze, and then you hang them to dry, and it's a lot quicker, a lot easier, and that's how I do it. So this brush is a nice soft brush, and it's one I keep just for gluing. Now you can glaze them with whatever you want. You can use your good old Mod Podge. I use all of these things. So Mod Podge, this is brilliant stuff. Now you can't actually see the name. It's I don't know how you spell it. Varathane. I'll put a link in the description below, because when it came, because I got it and it was sellotaped around to keep the lid on, and when I took the sellotape off, it pulled the name thing off, so that's why you can't see the name. And it's by Rust-Oleum, good brand. I use a lot of Rust-Oleum stuff actually. So that's that. But what I do with that, instead of keep opening the tin all the time, I have it in just a little jam jar, just, you know, the little miniature ones. Put it in whatever you want, because I don't like to keep opening that lid all the time, so I just have it in a screw top lid glass jar with a screw top. Glossy accents, brilliant for making these, glazing these. Glossy accents is fantastic, so I use glossy accents. Anything that you've got, you can use. You use what it is that whatever it is that you use, whatever you've got, use it. And it's a great way to use up a lot of your stuff, your old papers that you don't use, and all your craft stuff. You can make beads out of such tiny little bits. And your fabrics, don't throw any of your fabrics away. All your bits that you cut off, or all your old clothes, if they're pretty fabrics, you can make beads out of them. So little bit of glossy accents I'm using for this one. Oh, you can also use embossing powders as well. They look fantastic embossed, and use your heat gun. Now I use the paintbrush and I scrape the paint, or paint the glue in the direction of those grooves, because it fills those grooves in, so you don't have all those edges. Just a bit more on there, and make sure it goes in on the end, but don't seal the end, obviously. So what I do is do that end, and then I turn it around and I do the other side. How pretty does that look? I love that, and I think it looks stunning. So like I say, once you've if you get addicted to making these like me, I've made hundreds, thousands of these over the years, these beads, and done all sorts of things with, which I will be putting some of my projects up that I've made with them. I should be showing you some of the stuff that I've made, putting more videos up and how I've done it. So glazed, and then what I do, if I'm just making a few beads, I just transfer that onto a skewer, onto the end of the skewer, and then I just put it on my tray to dry. And then I just build them up, and then before it dries, just take it off, because it won't be tacky. Just make sure it doesn't stick to your stick. You can actually put some Vaseline on here, or some rub a bit of candle wax on it, or something like that, which helps it not stick. But do keep moving it, because they will stick, and then what will happen is you'll try to pull it off the stick, and it will pull all the paper out the centre, and it will all uncoil it. So for now, onto the skewer. I'll just get those fingerprints out of there and redo that a bit. Onto the skewer and onto your tray to dry. And then I just put that to one side and do my next one. So that's how I make my beads. And you can use, where are they? There. So I put that down there. For the ends, you can get these little things that you put in the ends of them, which do look really pretty. But you can also use, which is a cheaper version, let me just show you. So they're the end caps for those. But just put my top on my glossy accents. I don't want that all drying out. Get those glues out of the way. So these are the end caps that I've used for those, and they look fab. Or like I said, you can also paint the ends to finish them off, and I like to go inside as well to paint the inside a bit, so you don't just see the plain paper. But you can also use, which I've used here, some eyelets, which are quite cheap to buy. You don't have to spend a lot of money making your beads. So these are just little eyelets, and they work perfectly fine. You get the right size, you get all sorts of sizes, and we know how cheap eyelets are. They're really, really cheap. See, these ones come in lots of different colours, so I use those, add a bit more colour. I've got some green ones there as well, all different types of greens. So they work really, really well. And these are just eyelets as well. They look like the, because they're the same thing, really. I mean, these bead end caps aren't expensive. They're not expensive, but these little eyelets are cheaper still. So they're the same. They're just the same thing. They're just called different things, but they are essentially the same. So you can save yourself a few pence there. So that's how I've made my paper beads, and this is the some of the napkin of those. Oh, crikey, so much stuff everywhere. And you will too, not just me. You'll be just the same, I'm sure. So when I covered these and these, see, that was just made out of this cream paper, like I said. That cream paper, and then I covered it with napkin. So that is just that napkin. And when you cover with napkin, if it's a 3-ply napkin, you take the 2 layers off, and see, this is the layered napkin. It's a slightly different napkin to that. Well, a completely different napkin to that, just a similar colour. So you split the paper. So you take those layers off, and there's another layer there to come off. So it can be a bit difficult sometimes to get those layers, and oh, look at that, it's come off right easy. So you just want that top layer. So it'll either be usually the 2-ply or 3-ply. This is a 3-ply, and you just use that layer, and then you simply wrap it round You don't have to be fussy, you just tear it off, tear a bit off and wrap it round, glue this and then wrap it round so it all sticks, and then just tear off the bits that haven't stuck to it, or fold those in, whatever you want, easy peasy, and then just put a bit of glue over the top. And this one made the same way but with these napkins. So with the cream paper underneath, you can see the slightly, I don't know if you can see on camera, it does look cream, you can see the cream I think, and then the napkin over the top, and it just changes it completely and looks gorgeous. So you can get all sorts of lovely coloured napkins. So I've got quite a big stash of napkins that I use, so whenever I see some nice pretty ones, I don't think of them as use them as napkins, I use them as decoupage. So that's mine, and I would be really interested to see your beads that you make, because I just love making them and they're just so addictive. So please let me see what you make with yours, and I'll be putting more videos up. So give me a thumbs up so I know there's somebody watching and I'm not just talking to myself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.